is great. Hello, Facebook community. This is another edition of Claim Your Justice on Facebook Live. The purpose of these sessions is to educate the Facebook community on what to do when an unfortunate personal injury happens and a client, a loved one, a boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, neighbor, loved one, as I said, is injured in an accident, you don't know what to do. Our job is to help you claim your justice. You can reach us on the internet sounds old school, on the web at claimyourjustice.com, and you can call us at 847-434-3555. Today, we're going to talk about a client of ours that was injured on a beautiful Sunday day. Her and her family go to a restaurant just to have a nice meal. That's all they want to do. And they having this nice meal, and the client orders some tea. Waitress comes over with the tea. You know what happens, right? Waitress was busy, trying to juggle a lot of things at once. Waitress loses track of her plates and dishes that she's carrying, lets go of the boiling water all over our client's leg. Unfortunately, for the client, it created a lot of pain immediately and left a burn in two parts on the leg, one on the top of the thigh and a worse burn on the back of the calf. And so the question that the client asks is, do I have a claim against the restaurant? And my answer is yes, you absolutely have a claim against the restaurant. So let's tell you the first thing the client did that was right. And the first thing the client did that was right was they called an ambulance. Now, the reason why I'm saying it's right, because it may sound so obvious to anyone watching this video, of course you're going to call an ambulance. Well, the restaurant was discouraging them. The restaurant staff was saying, don't call the ambulance. And of course, we know, and if you were operating a restaurant, or if I was operating a restaurant, I also wouldn't want the negative attention of maybe an ambulance outside my restaurant and a crew of paramedics inside taking the client out on a stretcher. But the client did call the ambulance, and that was the right thing. The one thing the client didn't do that I would have suggested they do differently was they did not take pictures of the scene. And for anyone who's seen any of my videos before, you know that I'm always surprised that any event we see, you see a fight, you see a crash and grab at a store, you see anything else, you're always out with the video. Many times in these situations where clients and their relatives or friends who they're with should be thinking that, instead they don't take the picture, and it's hard to develop the scene and paint the best picture for the jury if a case goes to a jury trial on how exactly this accident happened. Then the client asks, okay, so now that I know I called the ambulance, it was right, what are you going to be able to do for me in pursuit of this personal injury claim that I did nothing wrong to deserve this? I have permanent burn marks on my thigh and on my calf. What are you going to be able to do? And so the first thing we're able to do is recover the client's medical bills. Now, in this particular case, the client went to the emergency room, was released from the emergency room after about 5 or 6 hours, and then the next day was in so much pain, had to go back to the emergency room. So the client's going to have substantial medical bills. There's also treatment with a burn specialist that needs to be performed over the next 4 or 6 weeks to make sure the burn is properly treated and doesn't get infected. So clients can be able to get recovery of their medical bills. Clients also missing work because they can't go to their job while they're in this pain and have a wrap around their calf, or a wrap around their thigh, dressing that they need to change a couple times a day. So they're also going to be able to get their lost wages. Because there's a scar, and there's frequently not scars in these personal injury cases, but because in this event there is a scar, the client's going to be able to add a component to their damage claim through our office of something called permanent disfigurement. It could be, in this particular case, it's a burn. There's going to be a burn there for most likely for many years, and it'll be a slight burn mark forever in my experience. So that's permanent disfigurement. But the biggest component of this personal injury claim is pain and suffering. And it's an elusive term because pain and suffering certainly means something different to me than it will mean to the insurance company and to the owners of the restaurant. it certainly means something different to me than it does to the client, because the client's actually suffering the pain. So, but that's it. We've got the medical bills, we got the lost wages, we got the permanent disfigurement, we got the pain and suffering in this case. And that client asked me next, okay, what do I do if anyone from the if anyone from the restaurant calls me? Well, that's an easy one. We've talked about it before. If anyone contacts you when you're injured and you're pursuing a claim against that party that contacts you, the best advice, the only advice, it's a must-follow rule. Don't talk to the person calling you. It will never help you. There's never anything you're going to say that's going to make the insurance company, the adjuster, the third-party administrator be, oh, here, this is going to help you out. No, it's only for the benefit of their pocket, not your pocket. So what you do is you say, thanks for the call. What's your phone number? What's your name? What's the claim number? And you say, I'm going to have my lawyer call you. You call the law firm of Claim Your Justice Personal Injury Lawyers. You give us that information, and we'll continue to make that contact. Now the next question is, with regards to the restaurant, there's a concern like, oh my gosh, I don't want to sue the waitress. She was so nice. I understand she didn't do it on purpose. Are you going to sue the waitress? No, I'm not going to be taking the waitress to court for two reasons. Number one is, and this is a purely economic reason, the waitress isn't going to have the money to compensate my client for their injuries. That's number one. And number two is, the employee is just an agent of the restaurant. So the restaurant's the one that's responsible for this claim. So no, don't worry about personally offending anyone. And I would say, even if we were going to sue the waitress, it's not for my client to worry about, because they need to worry about getting better, and no, it's not going to ruin anyone's life. No one's going to jail over this. With regards to the restaurant, one of the techniques, and one of the client said, what else you can do from a legal perspective so early in the case, is we'll send out something called a preservation letter. The preservation letter is a formal letter. We'll send it out certified mail, and it lays out to the recipient of the preservation letter what our claim is and what our expectation is. And what our expectation is that if there's any video camera surveillance or any pictures that the waitress took or that the manager took, we want those preserved. We don't want those to be destroyed or erased or thrown in the garbage. We want those to be preserved. So it's important early at the onset of an injury cases to call Claim Your Justice, and then we get on our action path right away, and that's part of the task of preserving evidence, is to get this preservation letter out. Sure, they could ignore it, but for the most part, if they get a preservation letter, and then we can prove that they disregarded the demand in the preservation letter and destroyed evidence, there could be something at trial called a spoliation case, spoliation claim for destroying evidence. Well, I wanted to point out for you these everyday things that happen in life, unfortunately, to people, and how to help you claim your justice. So when anything happens to you, your family, friends, loved ones, please call Claim Your Justice at 847-434-3555, or reach us on the web at claimyourjustice.com. Have a great rest of your week.